The last time we broke all-time highs, it took about a week and a half, and then we really took off and left 20K for dead. I think there's still widespread apathy in the market. I think this is the last chance we get to buy below 100K. I think if you're still on zero, you need to get off zero ASAP. I'm going to run through 10 or so items I think really you need to pay attention to that are telling us that this is a really opportune time to be invested in Bitcoin. I'm going to run through pretty quick. This is maybe not for beginners, but for some people with some knowledge. I'll share all the links below in the description. So just jumping straight in, most of you know the interest rate cycle globally seems to have topped. Interest rates are on their way down. Liquidity is rising. Financial conditions are easing. This is typically really positive for risk assets. That includes Bitcoin. Here's a tweet and a chart from Raoul Powell, who's worth a follow, just showing the relationship of liquidity and Bitcoin over past history. So if liquidity is easing and improving, you'd expect Bitcoin to do well too. Secondly, ETFs that launched this year, amongst the most successful ETF launches ever, are seeing huge inflows on the back of the Trump win. The IBIT BlackRock ETF, which is the biggest, saw record inflows. And I think this is really just the start of an absolute wave of capital that uses those ETFs to access Bitcoin for a whole pool of money that otherwise can't access Bitcoin because it's tied up in certain accounts or pensions or so on and so forth. But I think these inflows really have just started. Thirdly, institutional filings. We've seen lots of institutions in America getting involved in Bitcoin now. We've seen our first pension fund in the UK step into Bitcoin. So although the UK is quite far behind the rest of the world, unfortunately, we're starting to see a few entrants. This is really positive in my opinion, and it just shows that, like I've been saying for a long time, we're at the start of mainstream adoption now, where Bitcoin really becomes accepted and integrated into the traditional financial system. Next, Microsoft shareholders are being asked to vote on whether they adopt Bitcoin as a treasury asset. So again, the Overton window is changing. Bitcoin is now part of the discussion in these big companies. Whether or not they're still favorable or not towards Bitcoin, I think Microsoft aren't, and I don't think they'll vote for it. But the fact this is tabled as a resolution and they're being asked to vote, shareholders are asked to vote on whether they should adopt Bitcoin, is just a stark contrast to the situation years ago. The proposal, titled Assessment Investing in Bitcoin, posits that Microsoft's current investment in corporate bonds barely outpaces inflation rates and suggests that the company should consider diversifying their assets with Bitcoin, an excellent, if not the best, hedge against inflation. MicroStrategy, which hopefully most of you have heard of and know all about, they have just announced that over the next 3 years, they're going to be raising $42 billion worth of capital to invest into Bitcoin. So that is much greater than all the money state and all the debt and capital they raised today to put into Bitcoin. So that he looks like a genius at this moment. He is so far ahead of other companies. They'll catch up eventually, but I doubt they'll catch up in terms of the amount of Bitcoin they can acquire. But MicroStrategy are going hammer and tongs with just them alone, signaling to the market they're going to be buying $42 billion worth of Bitcoin over the next couple of years. It's a huge amount of money, and Bitcoin's market cap as of right now is what, $1.5 trillion. So even one company there is going to make a good dent. Next up, Tether. They're chumping through Bitcoin, adding it to their balance sheet every quarter. They're making huge profits, and everyone's probably heard about Tether and how well they're doing. And as part of their treasury strategy, they're allocating to Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So they're making these huge profits. It's run by Bitcoiners, by the way, this company, and they're just stacking Bitcoin in the background. And here on screen is a tweet about some past financial results and how well they're doing. You can read the numbers for yourself, but just another company with billions investing billions into Bitcoin. And you can see there a chart of the amount of Bitcoin owned by Tether on the rise. Next up, we've got some indicators. So there's some indicators that in past bull markets have helped to signal the top and when you should maybe lighten up if you were going to sell at all. You can see here that Pi cycle top, the moving averages is nowhere near signaling the top of the market yet. I think we are just starting to take off here. You can see from Google Trends, interest in Bitcoin is still pretty low. It's come off the bottom there with kind of the Trump win and the price action of the last couple of weeks, but we're still nowhere near the bull market top in 2021. So we're still early. And another couple of charts here by a good website, Check on Chain, where they attempt to model using on-chain data the conditions They kind of signal bear market lows and bull market tops. And again, according to some of their indicators, yeah, we're not signaling anywhere near a top right now. Again, another investor tool, and I'll probably do another video on these at some point. If you are interested in lightening up, selling a bit of Bitcoin somewhere near a top, maybe to live a better life, or maybe to be able to hopefully buy some back cheaper on any subsequent bear market. Again, relative strength, you can see in previous bull markets, the RSI goes very high. We're still way below that at present. So typically this last bit where it gets really high is the part of the bull market where it really starts rocketing. Next, I want to just point out that we've basically gone sideways for 9 months. We've been at or near all-time highs for Bitcoin, but people have been getting bored, infighting, apathetic, and 100K used to sound sexy. And nowadays it really doesn't. And I think market's got a bit complacent. People are wondering, have we topped? Are we going to go anywhere? And people that haven't got the real conviction, that really understand Bitcoin, they're selling, moving on to other things, or just getting the jitters. I think what it's done over the last 9 months is it's forced anyone that's not really convicted or anyone that's bored to sell. All we've got is strong hands left. And when there's additional pools of capital start allocating and new buyers come into the market, there's no natural sellers. All the natural sellers have already sold. So I think this previous 9 months is really bullish. Once we start to motor, historically, a week and a half after all-time highs, I think we've really started to go. Trump winning the election is very bullish for crypto and Bitcoin. He was openly pro-Bitcoin in attending the Bitcoin conference back in the summer. The Republicans have promised to enact a number of pro-crypto policies. So Bitcoin doesn't need politics or governments to back it at all to succeed. I think it could accelerate what's going to happen. It certainly legitimizes and makes Bitcoin more socially acceptable in traditional finance and among the elites. Trump's vice president to be is actually, he may not be a Bitcoiner, but he owns a significant amount of Bitcoin. I think he owns several $100,000 worth of Bitcoin. So that's quite a significant amount. So again, in terms of incentives, he's probably somewhat pro-Bitcoin and likely to be pro-Bitcoin in his policy outlook. Jumping to the Republican manifesto or platform before the election, I've just highlighted a bit on crypto there, and it's worth reading. Republicans will end Democrats' unlawful and un-American crypto crackdown and oppose the creation of a central bank digital currency. We will defend the right to mine Bitcoin and ensure every American has the right to self-custody of their digital assets and transact free from government surveillance and control. So very positive words. Hopefully they're followed through by action. It's also worth considering as well that Trump's going to be appointing new heads of various agencies, and you'd imagine that they're going to be more pro-Bitcoin or pro-innovation than previous heads. I think all the winds are really in Bitcoin and crypto sail with this new administration. And I think if this talk of the strategic reserve gets enacted in America, where they're buying up to 5% of the supply, 1 million coins over a number of years, the current price in no way, shape, or form recognizes the possibility of that even happening. Such a huge inflow of capital to a small market cap, $1 trillion and a half, is going to see a price many multiples of the current price if that happens. So on a probability adjusted basis, the current price in no way reflects the likelihood of that happening, in my opinion. I think it's only a matter of time before the wider market catches on and Bitcoin is re-rated much higher, significantly above 100K. Moving on, here's a tweet from Chudamista, who's well worth a follow if you don't already follow him on Twitter. But the possible or likely replacement of Janet Yellen as Treasury Secretary obviously knows about a bit of Bitcoin, and here he says some quite positive words about it. So again, another person in a particularly important and influential role who is pro-Bitcoin, or at least sees the positives in it. Moving on, comparing previous bull markets. So this is looking at number of days since the breakout. So I think this is since the all-time high. If we do anything like previous cycles and previous bull markets, we've got a long way to go before we top out. And again, looking at previous markets, it doesn't take long before they go. This one here is like the 9 months of chop, because we did break the all-time highs quite a while back early this year. We then came back down. So I'm expecting to see some really sharp moves upwards in the next couple of weeks, months. Just finally, Stack Hodler, another one of my favorite Twitter people to follow. His tweets are so full of positivity and also Bitcoin wisdom. But he says, you're about to witness something no human in history has ever seen before. What happens when near infinite demand meets a finite good? We're on the cusp of a new era for Bitcoin, and he's very bullish. I'll link this again in the description. But so hopefully I've brought your attention to some things that maybe you've overlooked, or haven't paid enough attention to, just to make you realize just how bullish the environment is right now. I think this is our last chance to get in under 100K. I think if you're on zero, you need to get off ASAP and encourage your friends to do the same. All of this news, any one of these items 4 years ago would have got Bitcoiners jumping up and down in excitement. But now they're starting to become commonplace and normal. And I think Bitcoin price is really going to start reflecting that sort of shortly. So that's all for today. All the links are below the description. If you like the video, consider liking it and subscribing. Take care.